Hello, viewers. Your host Adnan Ali is with you with an exciting, enthusiastic, and amazing personality for this week. We have Prakash Chugani with us. He is the founder of Ecube Training and Consulting. He's an executive coach, trainer, and business consultant. In his quest for excellence, Prakash believes that he is a lifelong student. In life, in line with his philosophy, he has just been awarded his second master degree in PsychoNeurobics. Prakash did his MBA in marketing from the University of Missouri. Prakash is a certified GPHR, Global Professional in Human Resource, USA, an NLP Practitioner certified by ABNLP, an Assessor certified by SHL, and a coach certified by Results Coaching Systems. Prakash was the General Manager for Human Resource Development at one of the leading companies in Dubai. He was primarily responsible for talent development, training, coaching, performance management, recruitment, and employee engagement initiatives. Prakash is currently the Director of Ecube Training and Consulting. Welcome, Prakash Chugani, to our show. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure, Adnan. Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me over.
We are privileged and honored to have you with us. Prakash, tell us about yourself, just a nice break so that our audience know about your background in terms of where you're born, how was your childhood, a brief introduction. That would be great.
All right. Whilst you were spelling out that introduction of mine, I was trying to understand, was that really me, or what were some of the things that I do? And I think there's always this difference between what I do versus who I am. And I always like to look at myself as this person who's first peaceful, a peaceful being, a powerful being, a person who is having wisdom innate inside, like anybody else, And I always like to look at myself from that perspective, from that lens, whilst I'm extending myself into this world, doing a lot of things, gaining a lot of qualifications, taking a lot of initiatives. Yeah, but if you ask me, who am I? For me, I always like to go back to the core values that every human being resonates with and is connected by. And that's what I truly look at myself as.
Great. Tell us about your childhood, where you spent your childhood, Prakash.
So I'm from a southern part of India, a hill station, called the Queen of Hill Stations, Ooty, also known as Uttarakhand. And so that's where I did my schooling. I was born and raised there. Parents are basically from, the now, Pakistan, but then undivided India. It was Sindh in Hyderabad. And so then they came here and settled in South India. And so I've spent about 21 to 22 years here in the southern part of India, and then another 22 years in the Gulf. So I've got three very interesting parts in me. One is a lot of the Sindh culture, and then you have a lot of the South Indian culture, and now I've got a lot of the Arabic culture in me.
Amazing, amazing. I've been to Hyderabad, where your ancestor came from. It's an amazing place, believe me. And the best part of Hyderabad is it's the wind that blows in the evening. It's amazing. I've never seen such a pleasant and amazing wind. You were in the corporate world. You're still in, but as an entrepreneur. When did you realize that you need to leave your 9-to-5 job and start something of your own?
Well, it was obviously a well-calculated decision. I realized at one point in time what I really wanted to spend my life doing, not just for the moment or for the next 2 or 3 years, but there was something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And that was to see how I could develop people and develop them in the style that I would choose to do myself rather than being told how to do it. So I wanted that freedom of expression, the freedom of designing, the freedom of delivering. And so then I knew that the only way I could do that, and not just for a short term, but a long term, would be if I were to start something on my own. And then I'll have that freedom, that range of, the veracity with how I would like to go about doing things. And so that's exactly what made me go into this particular direction, and starting off Ecube Training and Consulting, which is to empower, engage, and energize people. That's what the 3 E's stand for.
Thank you so much, Prakash, for that. How is this journey so far for this entrepreneurship? Is it risky? Is it, like something that you're loving it, or is something challenging? Share your experience, please.
Well, I believe there's risk in everything you do. Even if you're working and employed with somebody, you have a risk. You do something on your own, there is a risk. And I would look at it more like an adventure. I would look at it as an opportunity. I would look at it as some challenges that are there in front of you that's really going to help you stretch. It's going to help you move out of your comfort zone and really explore the best of your own self. And that's what entrepreneurship does, definitely. There's a lot in the learning when you're in that journey. And for me, it's been no turning back. It's been one of the best journeys that I could ever have embarked upon. And I feel that it really stretches a person. And whilst all those challenges are coming, and there could be certain moments of stress, certain moments of anxiety, but then it helps you to learn to see how best you can greet, meet, and beat these challenges. And that's important for us, and for me especially. And it's not about evading and running away from these challenges or from these, let's say, times that could be a little difficult, but it's more facing it and moving forward in that direction despite it.
So Prakash, what is the difference between a Prakash who was working for someone and a Prakash who is working for himself? Is there a difference between, like, if you want to share something on that?
So one of the good things about when I was working for someone else, and I would take the ownership up of whatever responsibility I took. And I would never have a feeling that I'm working for somebody else, or I'm doing things for somebody else. I always felt that I was working for my own self within a confined system. I did have certain people I had to report to, and they would, to a large extent, dictate the range or the span of my, let's say, expression. Today, I don't have anybody who dictates that for me. And that's probably the biggest difference, where I then see what I like to do and in which area and how long and for to what extent. That's the only difference. But I think in terms of my expression, in terms of whatever I have as my skills, my knowledge, the talents that I had, I would have an equal opportunity whilst I was also working for anybody else. And that would probably be because of I was fortunate enough to have an organization that was a learning organization that was ready to experiment, that was ready to see and to explore and to do new things. And so I thought it was it was a great opportunity then. It's a great opportunity now as well. I don't see any big difference in terms of opportunities either way.
Great. Prakash, you have a master's degree in PsychoNeurobics. Tell us more about PsychoNeurobics. I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
PsychoNeurobics, yes, you are. So psycho, it's to do with your mind or the brain, and neurobics is to do largely with your, the function of the entire body, your nervous system, the organs that are there. And so what we're trying to show through PsychoNeurobics is how I could use certain thoughts, certain ideas that will support me in being able to have a far better physiology. And so if I want to do something for a stronger heart, for better movement of my arms, or for, let's say the functioning of my liver or my stomach, my back, any of those organs that we might have, or the physical aspects of my body, what are certain thoughts that I can actually create that would actually specifically cater to some part of my body? And so if I have certain blockages, if I have certain pains, if I have certain trouble in certain parts, then what would I be able to do to free myself from them? and to heal my own self, really, to be my own doctor.
Wow, that's something amazing. It's mind blowing that with your own thoughts you can heal your body. And so, for example, if I have, let's say, cholesterol problem, and if I sit down and I say, okay, now I'm working to reduce my cholesterol, and I need to think this, and then it will affect my cholesterol. So will it happen?
Yeah, so one of the things we do is one of the things, there are so many, but just for an example, let's say if there's anything that is concerned with the heart, and I want to have a more functional and a more healthier heart, one of the things I would look at and imagine is the color green. That's associated with the heart. And so I would imagine that there is this particular color that is being showered onto this particular organ of mine. And I'm able to just visualize this color, and I can actually start feeling a very soothing effect on it. And I have a sense of a healing that takes place. So we use colors, we use sounds, we use pictures, various ways in which we are able to utilize, depending on which part of the body I'm talking about. And I'm able to sense a good feeling, soothing, healing, and it definitely works to a large extent.
Thank you. I believe it's a completely a new science, and I think we need maybe so many sessions on to understand how does it work and how it can benefit the humanity. Prakash, you are a trainer. Why we need trainers? If our parents are training us, if our schools are training us, if our corporates are training us, and more importantly, life itself is training us on a daily basis. So why there is a need for trainers?
Well, I think you have the answer in the question itself, that life itself is training us, which means that we can learn from various avenues. And truly, if the student is ready, they say the teacher is available. And so if somebody wants to learn, they can do it from their parents, they can do it from their teachers in wherever they come across, whether they are in school or in college, or they could be teachers in terms of your superiors in your organization, or even your own colleagues. But also you can learn from children, you can learn from people much younger to you, you can learn from nature, you can learn from animals. There is knowledge available everywhere. And I believe a trainer is another resource, another, let's say, source of learning. A person who has got the ability to assess the environment that you come from, who is able to try and see what's the true need that you have within the environment that you're living in, and then he's able to suggest a few things that would be useful to you as an individual in an organization that will help you be more successful in that function or that area that you are in. And so that's when the trainer comes. So understands the environment, understands you, and is able to design something that's able to fill that gap very accurately for you as a person in that organization.
Thank you so much, Prakash, for this. Which is your favorite domain in training, like sales training, leadership training, stress management, relationship? Which one you said, oh, I love this?
Yeah. Two things really stand out for me. One is leadership and the other is negotiation skills. I feel these two areas have an amazing amount of impact on not just your function in your workplace, but in life itself. If you're a great leader, it starts with leading your own self effectively. And so if you can lead yourself effectively, you can see how you can lead people and organizations, and also within your own family, how you can see that you get the best for everybody around you, whoever you happen to lead. Excuse me. And that's the same with negotiation skills as well. If you're a great negotiator, you get the best for yourself and your team at work, but you get the best for yourself, your family, and your society that you live in, and the country probably where you belong. You get the best for everybody, whoever are the stakeholders. So if you're a great negotiator, you have an enriched life.
Absolutely. And if you're a great negotiator, it will impact your personal life as well, with your wife, with your kids, and with your friends as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when you start becoming a great negotiator, you do usually tend to draw from certain principles that usually make negotiation seem a little bit of a tough task, a little bit of a struggle. You're trying to see how you bargain and gain the best, and it's kind of a, it sounds like a hassle. But when you bring in certain principles in that negotiation, it becomes very smooth. Uh, let's say artistic. It becomes very scientific. It becomes a very easy thing for you to do, and it also makes you see how you can not just look for your own interests, but you're also trying to see how I can take into consideration interests of others whilst I'm negotiating. So when you learn how to negotiate, you see how it becomes a far easier practice, but also something that's supportive not just to you, but to other people as well.
Absolutely. It should be win-win situation rather than, like, I get everything. I'm a good negotiator and I deserve it. And I have the trick and I can, do anything what I want. So absolutely, absolutely. Prakash, in the crisis situation, any kind of crisis that we see, whatever has happened, the first thing corporate does, they cut the training budget. What did you say about that?
Well, that how it does happen, especially when corporates are now, thinking more for survival. They're trying to see how can I survive and pull the organization through these tough times. And then for them, what's most important is to see how they can have the liquidity within the organization. They need to have funds. They need to see that it's flowing well. They receive their money from their clients. They're able to generate more business. They're able to see that we have jobs that are absolutely vital for the organization. And so they're trying to see what's most important for the organization. And so for them, what happens is learning and development to a large extent is something that we do with organizations and with staff in organizations to see how they stay engaged, how they stay empowered. And so whilst they do the cutoff, I do agree that they need to see how they hive off something that's not really important for the employees, but they've got to ensure that it may not be external vendors, but it could be within their own organizations. But they cannot not develop the people. They cannot not support them in terms of their psychological needs. They've got to ensure that they take care of those, and they have to take care of them first, because they are the people who are going to take the organizations through these tough times. And so if those people are not feeling good, if they are not able to focus, if they are not able to put in their 100%, then they are not doing themselves a favor by cutting back on training. I feel they must see how they deliver the right training, the one that's appropriate for them, that's relevant in those times, so that they are able to function to their entire, to the best of their capacities. I mean, I'm just thinking about driving a car, for example, and I got to move from point A to point B, and I want to drive as fast as I can. I want to take the shortest route, but I'm driving with tires which are at 40% or 60% of their actual capacity. I think that'll be the biggest mistake I would be doing. I just need to take a short pause for maybe 4 minutes, ensure that my tires are full, and then continue the journey. And so training is as important as ensuring that your tire pressures are max, in terms of their maximum potential, because then it's going to get you there on time. It's going to get you there well. It's going to get there. There's an assurance of you getting there without any other breakdowns. And so if people are not at their 100% capacities, you're trying to push them towards an end, which is going to be a big struggle. It's going to be a huge push. But if you were just to ensure that they were at their full capacity, wow, you get there and on time and in a very good shape.
Perfect. We talked about the crisis situation. Now that we are in a crisis situation because of COVID-19, Do you see any blessings in disguise, any positive things coming out of this current crisis?
Absolutely. Nan, I think that's important. You know, it's so easy for us to become uh, very pessimistic in these times. And that's what we see and listen to most of the time. So it's not our fault. But whilst whatever's happening, it's not all doom and gloom. You have you and me sitting over here having this conversation. That's a blessing in itself. There are people
Absolutely.
who can continue their normal lives. I mean, we have, for example, we could have a lockdown, but we're still able to get our food. We're still able to connect with our clients through technology, with our colleagues, with our families, wherever they may be. And so there's so many things that are there that are supporting us today in being able to do what we're able to do. You still have hospitals, you have nurses and doctors. You've got people who are like the police force. Recently, I was in touch with some people from the Dubai police, you know. I've been training them, I've been coaching them. So I send them greetings for Eid. And I wish them, I said, you know, thanks to Dubai police that we're able to do so many wonderful things around in town. And they said, well, you know, we are always at your service, you and the citizens of, and the residents of UAE. So I was so happy to connect with them and to say, wow, we have so many blessings. And we need to be grateful to so many things that are happening around us when life to a large extent is running, functioning normally. So I feel we got to be able to take care of ourselves. That's obviously no doubt. We know there's a pandemic. It's not stopping. It's going to take some time before that happens. But we need to start counting our blessings and seeing the greatness that's happening around us in every possible way. And we got to just see what's the best way that I can continue moving forward whilst I do not get too, let's say, in terms of my mind at least, I don't get too disappointed, dejected, and unnecessarily creating thoughts that are not necessary, that are not needed, or that are completely unproductive. And if I'm actually being able to remove myself in that way, I will see how I and the people connected with me will and definitely shall sail through these times and come out to the other end. And then, you know, we'll see what life has in store there.
Prakash, there is a saying that two important days are there in your life: when you're born, and second, when you were born. When you realize why you're born. It's by Mark Twain. Why is it that most people spend their whole life and never realize why they were born?
A brilliant one, Adnan. I think it's so important for us to know why we were born, and there could be so many of us who could live our entire lives without really either pondering over that question or just living our lives not bothering to ponder over that question because we are so busy, so caught up, so tied up in that rat race and just running from pillar to post, one place to another place, just thinking that, you know, I'm making myself a living, and that's a great deal. I'm just learning to fend for myself and my family, perhaps. And so if I'm doing a good job there, then that's what I'm here for. Because, you know, that's how you probably learn from a lot of things in the environment. You know, everybody's interested to know, Prakash, so what do you do for a living? In fact, I remember in a recent Toastmasters meeting I went to, the guy comes up to me and he says, he was just introduced to me and he says, all right, so hi, I'm Anthony, and Prakash, so what do you do for a living? And I paused for a moment and I thought that was a very intriguing question. And I said, you know, Anthony, for a living, what I do, I breathe. And so, you know, I mean, I just didn't think about anything. It just came. It was just an automatic response, and everybody around started laughing as they, you know, they're saying, "Wow, never heard that one." I said, "Well, that's a fact, right? I mean, what am I doing for a living? I breathe, I eat, you know, I take care of some of the physical stuff in my life, but that's what I do for a living." but that's become so important. Everybody wants to know what you're doing for a living. And then we think that that's life itself. But no, that's what I'm doing for a living. And so you can't make, that's not life. Life is far more than what you're doing for a living. So whatever roles we play, responsibilities we have, we go to work, we come back, we earn our money, we have our houses built, we have our cars, but that's what we're doing for a living. Life is bigger than that. There's a purpose. Whenever we were created, the creator had a big reason why he put us where we are. And so it's very important that we pause and ask ourselves this question, okay, I'm making a living, but what am I here for, really? What's my purpose? What's something that's larger than, just my roles and responsibilities, titles, and my, other things that usually occupy a lot of my life. And so because we're not giving ourselves that opportunity, we don't necessarily give it time. I remember my coach, who's made it his mission in life, his purpose in life, to at least let 1 million people in this world come to terms with what their purpose in life is. Because he feels, and that's a fact, if once you are aligned to your purpose, you don't need to be driven, because you'll be self-driven then. You don't need to be motivated. You'll be self-motivated. You will never ask yourself a question as to why should I do this? But you will just go ahead and do it because it's aligned to your purpose. You don't need any extrinsic motivation. And life will be so meaningful, so purposeful, and you'll see how you're able to achieve so much more, not just for yourself, but then you go beyond yourself and you start doing things for others.
Prakash, you rightly mentioned that, yes, we need to answer the inner call. What is our purpose is? However, we've seen people, they're sleepwalking their whole life. The reason being they are so indulged in trying to make something for their families. Like they're living a life which is close to the poverty line, like 80 to 90% of our population. They're just trying to find, so their kids can go to school, they can pay the bills on time. So their whole life kind of evolves around this whole concept, and they're far away from their basic concepts. What's your advice to those people? How they can come off that suffering? How they can answer to their inner calls?
Yeah, that's a nice one, Adnan. And there's a huge amount of people in this world who, can't even fend for themselves, a proper meal for a day, And so my heart goes out to those people to see how, if they get that meal for themselves, it's a great deal, and I feel great for them if they're able to do that. I believe that should be their primary responsibility, to see how they can take care of themselves and the rest within their family, to see how they can do what they can do best for them. And I believe, and I can also see in that particular perspective also, there's so many who are able to do more than that. For one, in terms of, the various ways in which we can contribute in terms of my purpose. One is in terms of the way I can be myself, I could just be a person who is free from certain habits which are not going to be conducive. I can be free from certain habits of even thinking, overthinking, negative thinking, wasteful thinking. And that itself can be a great lesson for people around me. And I could keep that as a purpose of being, the best that I can possibly be, whilst I go about doing my responsibilities, fending for myself and my families. But my state of mind is in my control, and I can see how I can be the best in that place. And so there are great things that I could do in whatever, whatever stature I might actually fall under. Within that space, I might have certain talents. I might have certain beautiful things that I can start working on whilst I'm doing those things. And I feel it's important for us to be close to those things. We all have dreams. Even the people who are trying to fend for themselves, they have certain dreams. And I feel it's important for them to stay close to those dreams whilst they're fending for themselves. And to see how, in the smallest fashion, they can express those things. They can let others also see that they have some things that is there, which is more than just trying to fend for, a square meal. Whilst they're doing that, I'm saying they don't ignore it, but they also see that there's some other things that can be done simultaneously.
Absolutely, and you mentioned it very right. There are people in our in this world. They are the living examples that they comes from slums and they achieve the heights of like they at the pinnacle level of humanity in terms of whatever they are doing, like in terms of social service, in terms of the scientists, in terms of the like the stars or whatever their dreams were, they came true. Because what happened is like they focus on certain things and those things expand in their life. So is it true that once we focus on certain things, it expands? If we focus on just like bread and butter and worries, then our life whole becomes a misery. What do you say?
Yeah, very well said, Adnan. The saying goes that where attention goes, energy flows. Where energy flows, life grows. So it's important for us to pay attention to our own strengths, to the magnificence that is there within each of us, to our positives. Because each of us have weaknesses, each of us have defects, we have negatives. And I can be aware of those, but I can't allow that to fill my whole consciousness. I need my positivity to be most in my consciousness. So that's what grows, and that's what I become more of. And so that's important. And I feel start looking at what you're good at, start looking at the positive, start looking at the greatness within, and that's going to grow, that's going to expand. And once that grows and expands, you being this leader in your own life, but within your own personal and professional life, you'll see how you positively start affecting others.
Thank you so much, Prakash, for that answer. Leadership, is it a title or something more than that? What do you say?
Well, it is a title and it is not a title. It's both. A lot of leaders come with titles, and that's just probably the first level. You have a leader title, you have people who have to listen to you, and so that title gives you the opportunity now to be a true leader. And so from there on, you can develop the people who are with you. You can ensure that you're able to achieve these objectives for which you've been made the leader. You're able to, create a legacy for you in a way where, there's one beautiful thing I've actually seen many people in organizations who actually hold some high positions. They do a lot of wonderful things for the organization. And when they're leaving, they kind of believe that once I leave this organization, things are going to be terrible. The company is not going to do well, because it was me, thanks to me, that they reached here. And the moment I go, it's not going to be any good. And I've noticed them leave the organization and then to constantly check on that particular place to see how well the company has been doing since they left. And they actually have a sense of pride when they see that the organization hasn't been doing well after they left. And to me, it's not that it's in fact, it's not a credit to this guy who left or this lady who left the organization. In fact, what did you do as a leader there? If you had truly led the organization, then you should have put it in a position where it could actually thrive when you were not there. And if you've not been able to do that, I don't think you did your job as a leader well. So you should not make yourself indispensable and leave. In fact, you should make yourself. Sorry.
Leaders are born, or they can be trained, or they can be made, create.
It's very important for us to understand, and that's a mindset issue. People with a fixed mindset believe that you'll be born a leader. If you're a leader, you're great. You've been born that way. You have those traits within you, and so be it. But people with a growth mindset understand that you can develop leadership skills. You can be a great leader. You need to make efforts. You take feedback, you learn, you change, you improve. And that's so important that when you come with a growth mindset, that leadership is not about just being someone that you've been entitled with, but you learn, you develop, you get feedback, and you grow. And so when you come with that mindset, you become a fantastic leader. And there's been a lot of research to show that when leaders are learning to grow, to become better, to get feedback, to assess themselves, and to change, those are the best leaders that we've actually seen. But for those who come believing that, haha, I'm a born leader, and I'm not here to learn anything because I'm the leader. I mean, who are you to teach me? Who are you to give me feedback? If there's something wrong, then the market is wrong, the company is wrong, the bosses are wrong, the people who are working for me are wrong. But I'm a leader. I'm a great person. And that's where they flounder.
Prakash, why there is a leadership crisis in the world?
Well, I feel it's very important for us to be self-leaders first. We got to learn to lead ourselves. We're trying to lead others. We're trying to lead companies, trying to lead people. But we've forgotten that we got to first lead our own selves. And so for me to lead myself, I have to be in a position of being resilient, of being able to take feedback, of being able to learn and change and adapt myself, to be flexible, not to be rigid, not to be a person who stands with this ego that it's me, I'm the biggest person, I'm the greatest of them all. And so if I come with that attitude where I'm not adapting myself, I'm not flexing, I'm not changing, then there's a big crisis that we're going to have in the world. Then I'm trying to change everything else around me, every person around me, and the situations around me. So I'm okay when everything else is okay, but that's not how it works. I need to be adaptable first. And so self-leadership is the first step I need to take. I need to be able to know myself first, see how I can change in the environment that's expected outside, and then come out there. So that's the first step of leadership. If I'm not doing that, then I fail.
I believe this starts from a home, from a house where the parents are there. But when we look at the parenting skills, when we look at the schools where those kids go, they are not creating leaders. They are creating just mere followers, just robots who can follow the instructions. So maybe a complete paradigm shift is required. What do you say?
Definitely, there is a paradigm shift required, I feel, from the stages of parenting upwards to how we have schools and colleges and universities. But also, I feel a true leader is not blaming his circumstances, is not blaming his upbringing, is not blaming people around. Because there is also common sense and there is willpower that we all have. And whatever stage I may be standing on right now, I can change. I can be the person I want to be. And that's a very important part of leadership. And I feel one very important part of being a leader of yourself, being a self-leader first, is self-awareness, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses as well, and to build on those strengths, to build on those values of yours, to be more aware of your purpose of life, and then to extend that into whatever you're doing. And I feel once you connect with your purpose, with your core values, you're an amazing leader. But if you're not connected truly to what you have inside, and if you're just trying to do things on the surface level outside, it's going to be very difficult for you.
Prakash, what is your definition of happiness and success?
To me, again, purpose-driven leadership or anybody else in life first need to connect to their purpose, connect to their true selves, and then see how I can express that on a daily basis. And then what I'm doing is I'm living a destiny which I've always wanted to. It's nice for us to think about a future where I'll be able to do things and get things and I'll be happy, and I'll be content. But remember, today is that tomorrow you thought of yesterday. Today is that future that I've created in the past. So it's important for me to live every single day believing that this is my destiny. and by putting my best that I can right now. I'm not saying we don't plan for the future, but the best way to make it come true is by waking up and doing something about it right now and here. And so your happiness, your state of mind, your being comfortable and content is all about what you're doing right now, and to see to what extent are you aligned with your purpose, with your core values. And if I'm able to express that in the simplest fashion today, right now, then I'm doing a good job. I'm showing up. I'm playing my part.
The power of now, yeah, that's most very important. That you live in the moment, and that's why it's called present, because it's a present for us. And very well said. And I'm learning a lot. There are lots of aha moment for me. That yes, rather than blaming others, blaming governments, parents, society, we need to take a responsibility ourselves. We are, we are the master of our own destiny if we come to that mindset, which is great. Thank you so much, Prakash. I believe we can have these discussions for hours and hours, and our viewers must be having a great time listening to your wisdom, listening to your guidance. If someone wants to contact you, get in touch with you, how they can do that?
Well, firstly, thanks, Adnan. I think it was a pleasure and an opportunity. If somebody takes benefit from this, our talk, our conversation, brilliant. And that's a great initiative. Well done to you for that. In terms of contacting me, and that's a good thing if anybody wants any more clarity on any of these aspects or some development for themselves, their staff, then Ecube Training, that's the company that I'm with. So ecubetraining.com. It's one word, as in ECUBE, Ecube, E to the power of 3, ecubetraining.com. Our contact details are there, so they can get in touch with us through our website.
Thank you, Prakash. And before we sign off, any final message for our viewers?
Well, I would only say, in times like we are right now, stay safe at a physical level, certainly. But in terms of a mental level, stay strong and positive.
Thank you so much, Prakash. Loved it. Loved it. Viewers, we had a great discussion with Prakash Chugani. We discussed about the positive things that are coming up in the COVID-19. We talked about leadership. We talked about positivity. We talked about how we can live the present moment and change ourselves rather than looking at others, looking at the government, looking at the society. So we are the one who can change ourselves. And Prakash talked about his training programs and his background as well. Thank you so much, Prakash, again. And viewers will get back to you with another exciting interview with a great personality who's giving something back to the society, who's contributing with his skills and experiences. Thank you so much, and God bless you all. Stay safe. Take care.